In this video, we are going to demonstrate how to create your own custom component in the Jdeation Designer. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to go to the My Component section. And then we are going to create a component. Today I'm going to be using a Falcon F8 distro. So as my test, so I'm going to go ahead and say we would paste the URL. So let's just go here and copy this link here. And in fact, if we wanted to, we could just copy this text right here and put it up here in our long description. And then we come down and we're going to upload a picture of the component. I have already saved one off here that I just grabbed from their website, so we've got that loaded in. And so then we're going to come down to actually designing your component, and there's two ways to do it, the automatic way and then the manual way. Today we are going to do the automatic way. And so first things first you have to do is you have to measure your component. The first step is really to measure your component. This is how I generally like to do it. Just start off and let's just get a piece of paper and trace this. And then we're going to mark the holes here. And so now we have an outline of the component with all of our holes. And now we are simply going to measure. I've got a millimeter measure ruler here. And so let's see, the bottom looks like it's about 94 millimeters. The side appears to be 50 millimeters. And then for each one of the holes, you want to measure from the top left to each one of the holes. So the center of the hole here, that appears to be about 5 millimeters. That looks like about 5 millimeters too. And then remember, we're going from the top left for the next hole, so we're going to measure from the top down to this hole, and it looks like it's about 43. And then I'm assuming this would be 5 as well, and it is. And then we're going to measure all the way across to this hole. So that is 86. And then from the top down here, I'm assuming this will be 5 too for this component, and it is. And then we're going to measure this bottom, probably 86 as well, and it is. And from the top to this bottom hole, it is 43 as well. So the designer of this component has done a good job of making the square holes all equaled out. And so, you know, that should line up. The holes should be close, and all we're looking for at this point is close. So now we're going to take these measurements and we're going to put them back into the Jdeation Designer. So now that we've measured our components, we are going to come in here and we're going to enter the measurements that we got off of the piece of paper that we did. So from a width perspective, this was 94 millimeters. From a height perspective, it was 50 millimeters. And then we measured 4 mounting holes. The first one was 5 away from the side and 5 away from the top. The second one was 5 away from the side and 43 millimeters from the top. The third one was 86 millimeters from the side, 5 millimeters from the top. And the final one was 86 millimeters from the side and 43 millimeters from the top. So those are our rough hole estimates. So this is a standard component that uses standard mounting. I'm going to go ahead and have the system automatically add standoffs, K-lock nuts, and PCB screws from a parts perspective that would be required to mount this. So yes, obviously mounting hardware is required for this. If there's only a certain amount of parts available in the Jdeation Designer. These are all the parts that Jdeation stocks as our normal kits. If there's a part that we do not currently have in the system, you need to indicate by clicking no that one or more parts are not found below. In this case, all the parts I need are actually in the Jdeation Designer, so I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and this just helps inform people if the kit they're going to receive from Jdeation ultimately has the parts they need. So that's it, and then we're going to click save. And then it brings us to our My Component screen for this component we just created. And you can see here, obviously it's got component info that we entered, it's got our picture. And this is actually the component that it was auto-created for us. This would what would get inserted into your Jdeation design. We have not validated this component yet, and this is all the parts. So, and then this is currently not listed in any of the menus. This is really, the administrators are the ones that can add this to the menu. So the next thing we want to do is this is a rough draft essentially from our measurements, and we want to make sure that this thing is absolutely perfect. And so to make sure it's absolutely perfect, we want to validate the image or validate the design. So we're going to come up here to our validation, so you can currently say that this is not validated. So let's hop in here. And then we are going to validate our component. We've got some simple instructions here. The very first step is we want to download and print our validation PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. Give it a little second here, and then it's going to save. Let's save this off, and we'll call this just Falcon Distro Component Validation. And we're going to save that. Come over here to our folder where we just saved that. And we are going to open this, but the key is we are going to open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader. It's very important to actually open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader so that we can get this the exact right size. Now we need to print this on our paper printer to scale. So we're going to come up here to File. We're going to go to Print. Select my workshop printer, and this is key. You need to make sure that you have actual size clicked, because that will be what actually prints this to scale. So make sure you have actual size clicked and hit print, and this will print on your paper printer. Okay, we have printed out our component, and now we're going to see how we did. I will just tell you right now, very seldom do I ever get this right on the very first try. And I didn't get it right on the very first try this time either. So as you may not be able to see this in the camera, but we've got maybe this much, the outside, the length of the component needs to come in. So let's just see, that looks like about 2 millimeters. So we want to bring this edge in, subtract 2 millimeters. And then we're going to do our hole placement again. This time I'm using a Sharpie to make life a little bit easier on myself. So just try to line this up again and put a dot right in the center of the hole. Okay, and so what I see is this actually looks pretty good. There's a little bit of give in these holes. We make these holes a little bit bigger than they need to be so that they can actually have a little bit of wiggle room. But you know what? This one definitely, I think, let's go ahead and we want to move that hole a little bit to the left. So we're going to subtract a tiny bit. Let's see, not much from the center of that black dot to the center of the hole. Let's just say, let's say 1 millimeter. We're going to subtract 1 millimeter. And then down here, it's not much, but let's just assume that this board is the holes line up. So let's just go ahead and subtract 1 millimeter from here as well. Over here, we definitely got some work to do. So let's see, we need to move this hole to the right. Probably, that's almost, let's see, that's 2 millimeters. So we're going to add 2 millimeters. This one, we're going to, assume, add 2 millimeters to move this hole this way. I'm a little surprised that my dot is higher. That may just be a dot error. Doesn't look like it. It's interesting. So I am actually going to slide this hole, and I don't really understand why that this component is not square, but let's just check it, and let's say we're going to move that hole up about, let's just do 1 millimeter. So we're going to subtract 1 millimeter from that hole. So now that we've got our second attempt here, we're going to take this back to the Jdeation Designer and update our holes. So we're back in the Designer now. I'm going to go back over here, and we are going to now edit our component to make the adjustments. So we said that this first hole we wanted to subtract 1 millimeter, so we're going to change that to 4. This is the top left hole. This is the bottom left hole. We also said we wanted to subtract 1 from. Oh, I forgot. The overall board, we said we wanted to subtract 2 from the width, so we're going to make that 92. Then the top right hole, we said we wanted to make this to move the hole to the right. So we're going to do that. And then we said we wanted to do this one, we wanted to move it up 1 millimeter to 4. And then this bottom right hole, we said we wanted to add 2 millimeters, push it to the right 2 millimeters, and then we were comfortable with this hole. So let's see how we did. I'm still a little wondering why this hole here is a little bit higher, but let's just go ahead and we're going to do attempt 2. And we're going to repeat the step to download our validation image. So again, we're going to save this file again. We'll try, say, attempt 2, and we'll save this. Again, we want to open this in Adobe, and we want to print. Remember, we want to do actual size. And then we're going to go and we're going to line up this component again and see how we did. Okay, so we've printed out our attempt 2, and we're just going to repeat the process. So we're going to lay this on top. Now, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but our width is perfect now. The two left holes look good. You know what? I'm going to say that all the holes look good. You can continue to make super fine adjustments to this. Again, we give it a tiny bit of wiggle room, so it's okay. You know what? I'm probably going to actually move this hole up to match this hole over here. So I believe we had moved this one up 1 millimeter, so I'm just going to move this one up 1 millimeter as well. And so we're just going to repeat this step for a third attempt, but we're really close now. I think we're just talking about one hole now. So, I mean, honestly, this is probably good, but I'm looking for perfection today. So we're going to move this hole up 1 millimeter. Okay, so let's see how we're doing now. So I'm going to line this up. I'm actually really good with that. I think that looks good. So now we're going to take the validation picture. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these dots again. And you can see that looks good. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this. This is valid. It's going to be validated. So I'm going to take a picture of this to prove to other users of Jdeation that I've done the work to make sure this is a validated component. So then I'm going to take this back over to the designer, upload just a quick photo of this that I'm going to take from my phone, and then we will be essentially done. Okay, so now we are just going to upload the validation image, and I'll show you over here. I mean, again, this is literally just a photo I took with my phone. Again, this does not need to be perfect. We are just demonstrating that we've done the work to validate this component. And I'm now going to upload. In fact, I'll just drag and drop that. So I already had it open. And then we are going to save it. And so now we've uploaded our validated. You'll see that our validation status, it's not yet been validated. It's in progress. Essentially what this means is a administrator of Jdeation, a la myself, will go into the system, verify that you've uploaded the correct validation image, and approve it in the system. And when it's approved in the system, it will become validated. And then ultimately other people then can start to use your component. This is a big responsibility to the community, that you get this correct if you're going to allow other people to use it. So please, follow the instructions in this video, and help us add all these great components to the Jdeation Designer and help us make this software platform even more amazing than it already is. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please ask those questions in the comments, and I will answer them as soon as possible. Thank you.